Hi, I'm Sean Newman and I've been in the estate agency industry for over 30 years. And I'm really excited to bring this new show where I interview some of the top most successful estate agents in the UK. Some are earning 10, 20, 30,000 pound a month. Some are earning 40, 50, even 100,000 pound a month in personal commission on a self-employed model. These agents will be sharing their story and their journey on how they became an estate agent, the success they've had, and sharing their secrets on how they did it. We are seeing the biggest ever seismic change in the estate agency industry, with more and more people becoming self-employed estate agents. This is a fantastic opportunity, not only to earn a life-changing amount of money, but to raise the standards of estate agency in the UK. With these interviews, hopefully these interviews will inspire you and encourage you and give you some useful tips and advice on your estate agency journey. I hope you enjoy the next episode and I look forward to seeing you soon. Welcome to our first episode. Today I'm with my son Tyler and he's going to ask me about why we're doing these episodes and ask me about my story, my career and how I got started in estate agency. It's quite raw and emotional at times and I'm sure you'll find it fascinating. So do watch to the end and I hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you for joining me today, Tyler.
Well, thanks for having me.
So do you want to start?
Well, first question is, what are we doing here? What is this podcast all about? Not just this episode, but I guess everything we've got else, everything planned for the future. Okay, it's a good question.
So my overriding mission is to help raise the standards in the estate agency in the UK. As many people know, the standards are quite low in comparison to other countries around the world. And most countries around the world have a different model to estate agency. They have self-employed estate agents that are running their own business under an umbrella brand. And when you go to America and Australia, the agents are seen as professionals, they're respected, they're high earners, they're entrepreneurial, and they're professional, but it's almost the complete opposite in the UK, where we're not respected. In fact, it's so I want to help raise the standards of an estate agency. So I think having this self-employed model is one of the ways we can improve the standards. Estate agents in the UK are not paid enough. They don't have enough time with each client to offer the right marketing, the right service, get the best results because they've got KPIs and targets. And it's very much get them on the market, get them on Rightmove, get them sold, move on to the next one. And I think we can change things with this relatively new estate agency model of agents being self-employed. So the reason for this podcast, in answer to your question, is that I think a lot of estate agents who are employed in the UK don't either know about this self-employed model, or if they do know or aware of it, they don't fully understand it. And they perhaps got some concerns, or maybe their employer is told them bad things about this model. Obviously, if I was an estate agency employer or business owner, I'd be very worried about my top lister or manager leaving to go on his own and become a self-employed estate agent. So I guess this podcast is to sort of explain more about the model. And the way I'm going to do that is by interviewing estate agents who were employed and who have considered the self-employed model. Maybe they will explain how they felt, what their concerns were, what their worries were, and what they did. And now that they are self-employed, what is their life like and how it compares? So I'll be interviewing self-employed estate agents from across the UK to find out about their journey, how they started in estate agency, their transition to being self-employed, and how they feel about it now. So that would be, hopefully other employed estate agents would be able to relate to that. And secondly, these self-employed estate agents, I'll be asking them about their successes. What can they share? Best practice, ideas, tips, suggestions, advice, help, training, things that estate agents out there could benefit from. And I think a lot of employed estate agents are not maybe doing the full role, if you like. They're normally either just doing viewings, or just doing valuations. They've got an appointment in the diary, they do the valuation, that house is put on the market, they're on to the next one, they're on to the next one. So, some of the employed estate agents may be interested or concerned about, how do I generate market appraisals? Or, what's the best way to sell a house? What's the best way to get the sales progression, sale through? I don't know. So, just sharing tips. So I'm going to be interviewing a number of self-employed estate agents who are going to explain their journey and give some advice and tips.
Well, so I guess my first question then is, what is, in simple terms, a self-employed estate agent, and how does it compare for those maybe that aren't even estate agents right now to the traditional model?
Yeah, so as an employed estate agent, you are on a salary and probably going to get some commission, a percentage of the fee income that you generate. So the basics start at 14,000, 18,000, 20,000. And obviously if you could become a lister and then a manager, your salary goes up and you get some commission on top. So there are some benefits of being employed, and being self-employed isn't necessarily right for everybody. But it's about, as an employee, you get a salary at the end of the month. Whether you sell any houses or not, you're still going to get paid. Although saying that if you don't sell any houses, you probably won't have a job for very long. But self-employed is effectively setting up your own business. So it's becoming a business owner and running your own business. But in this model, you're running your own business probably under an umbrella brand. You're doing it in partnership with a bigger business. And in simple terms, in our model, we encourage the agent to focus on the four main, what I call dollar productive tasks or income producing tasks, which are generating market appraisals, listing properties, selling properties, and number 4 is negotiating the offers and keeping the sale together. So they're the main 4 income producing tasks. And then as a supporting business or partnership business, we provide all the other things that the agents need, whether that's administration support, marketing support, IT, help, training. So anything they'll need to be successful.
But one of the main benefits being that they can earn more money as a self-employed agent.
Yeah, they'll earn significant. So the fee income is shared between the business and the agent, and there are a number of different self-employed models, and that fee split will vary depending on the model.
And so in a sort of traditional employed agent, they may be getting 5, 10, 15% of the fee income. Yeah. With a self-employed model, it could be what? 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%. And although people may be attracted by thinking, if I earn a higher percentage, I'll be better off as the agent, as the individual. Actually, you've got to weigh up what else are you getting. There's a simple trade-off. The higher the percentage the agent gets, the less support they'll probably get from the business. So obviously they may have a lower percentage, maybe 40 or 50%, but there'll be more support from the business. Obviously the higher the agent gets, then the agent will probably have to bear more of the costs. Okay. Before we dive too much into then you and your background, just for those people that may have never heard of you before, what is your involvement in the estate agency world? You say you want to raise the standards. What are you doing right now?
Okay, so I've got my current position with the business at the moment. So I've got 3 main businesses. So I've got a Fine & Country franchise. So Fine & Country is a luxury estate agency brand with 225 offices or locations across the UK and probably 300 worldwide. But that's like a franchise. And I've got about 23 locations around the Midlands. And I say it's franchise. Technically, it's not a franchise. It's a license agreement. A franchise, like McDonald's, everything has to be done the McDonald's way. With a license agreement, you're licensed to trade under that brand, but the model can be different. So the way we run our Fine & Country locations in the Midlands area may be different to another Fine & Country operation in a different area. So each location is independently owned and run and probably run in a different way. So some of them will have an employed model, some of them will have this self-employed model, and the area I cover, we have this self-employed model, but that is becoming more and more popular.
Okay.
So that's Fine & Country. And then I've got Newman Property Experts. So I would say I've probably focused more on Fine & Country over the last few years, growing that brand. Now my focus is more on the Newman Property Experts brand. The main difference with that is that with Newman Property Experts, the agents can deal with any price bracket. With Fine & Country, it's just the top 25% of the market. There's no restrictions on area. So with Newman's, we can literally trade in any area of the UK. With Fine & Country, we are limited to our license area. The percentage paid on Newman's is a lot higher. We pay 70% commission to our partner agents. So it's more flexible, as in they can deal with any area, any price bracket, and they earn a higher percentage. And I've also got another business, which is another franchise, which is a mortgage advice bureau franchise. And we've got about 40 mortgage advisors, again on a self-employed model, and they get 50% of the income that they generate. Obviously, there is some other tiers as well, so they can earn more than that. But they're the three main businesses. We have lettings as well. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, well, and then rewinding a little bit then, so this self-employed agency model, although you were maybe one of the first to bring this to the UK, and we'll talk about that, this isn't a new concept, is it? And where did you originally sort of get the idea for this from?
Yeah, no, this isn't like, let's just try this and hope it works. Mm-hmm. This is the crazy thing. This is the model that most of the rest of the world has. Mm-hmm. Whether you go to Australia, South Africa, pretty much every other country,
US,
every agent is effectively a self-employed contractor running their own business, part of a bigger organization, maybe a national brand or franchise. And it works, and it's for me, it's better for the agent. Mm-hmm. They learn more, and they have more flexible hours and better lifestyle, and they're in control of their own destiny, their own diary. Secondly, it's also better for the client, and probably most importantly, it's better for the client. They get that one-to-one time with the agent who's acting in their best interests, and that agent takes them from the start of the process all the way through to the finish. They're not
because they have more skin in the game.
Oh, yeah, they're totally. I mean, if they don't sell the house, they don't get paid.
Yeah,
and they are going to look after that client because it's their reputation, the agent's reputation, and they want to get more business. So, and the owner isn't dealing with a faceless company that one week they're dealing with one person, next week they're dealing with someone else. So. Yeah, and they can spend more time with that client, give them get better results for them, and also it's better for the business as well. I believe this business model is better for the business owner, that they can support their agents, look after their agents, rather than having loads of different tiers of management, loads of KPIs, checking people who have started at the right time, and checking their holidays. And as a business, we don't need to worry about that. People can have as much time off as they want. They have got a vested interest in getting the results, because that's how they earn their income. So it's better for the business, better for the agent, and most importantly, it's better for the client. And this is a tried and tested model across the world. And I'm really excited that the UK is now adopting this model, and more agents are jumping on board and seeing the benefits of it.
So when exactly did you start introducing this concept and making the transition? Because you've had your business for however many years now. It was only when that you begin to make the transition?
So I would say that I'd been traveling the world, going to conferences for a long time. So I'd be going to the National Association of Realtors conference in America, ARIC, the Australian Real Estate Conference, South Africa, various countries, and every year to see how it's done, and to learn and to improve things. And so I saw this model everywhere, and I realized that very few business owners were going to the US to learn. And if people from the UK were going, it was more business owners, whereas in the US, it was the agents. The agents were going and investing time in themselves, investing their money, wanting to learn, wanting to improve. And it was just a different mentality, attitude, and I just thought this is definitely the way forward. I just had interesting conversations when I was talking to business owners in America, and they'd say, "Oh, how many offices have you got?" And I'd go, "Oh, we've got 3 offices." And I say, "How many have you got?" They'd go, "Oh, we've got 1. I was thinking, oh yeah, I've got 3, you've got 1. And they'd say, how many agents have you got? And I'd go, and I thought, well, we don't have agents as such because we have someone who's the receptionist,
admin,
the admin, and then we've got someone who does viewings, and we have a videographer or datographer, and then we have a valuer. And so it was hard to answer that question. They said, well, how many people actually go out and list houses? And I think, well, we've got maybe 2 here, maybe 6, and they'd go, I said, how many have you got? And they'd go, 127
in one office.
And I'm going, okay, right. So how does that work then? And then obviously they explained that, they get paid on. And then so what happened was it was 2008, 2007, 2008 when we hit the recession in the UK, and literally our income as a business went down by 50%. And we still got all these overheads and costs. And it was a very, very difficult time. And we were a big believer in paying high wages to attract the best staff. We had employees and we wanted to pay them the most money and attract the best people and create the best results. And so we had we had to change our model. We thought, well, we can't carry on doing this, paying these high salaries. And what if we're paying someone a salary and they don't sell a house? And so, we gave people the option. We said, look, we knew as a business, we were probably paying out, and I can't remember the exact figures, but probably 30% of our costs were, or 33%, a third of our costs were probably in staff wages. You probably got another third in overheads and other stuff, and ideally a third in profit, probably not that high. But in round figures, we thought, well, can we afford to pay agents more, but then not pay them a salary, pay them on results only, pay them a higher percentage. So we gave our agents the option and said, look, would you be interested in earning a higher percentage? And although I said the staff were getting 33%, well, that's the total staff cost. So that would be including, admin and everyone. But what the agents were probably taking home was probably nearer 20%. I can't remember the exact figures, but anyone out there can work out as a business what their agents are being paid as a percentage of the income. And so we said, well, look, we'll pay you 30% or 35% of everything you bring in. And when we put that proposal to all the agents, they all said, yeah, we'd much, because they could all see what they did last year. They could all see that if they did the same in the future year, that they would earn more money on this model. And I think 90% of people, maybe more. There were very few people. There's probably about 5 people in the whole business that said no, we don't want. Maybe 4 people, I think, that said no, we don't want to do it.
Okay.
And everyone was better off. And as a business, we were better off as well because everyone worked harder because they were actually wanted to sell more houses, get more income because that would make them. They'd be better off. So it worked out. So that was 2008. So
that was 2008, which is 13 years ago at this point. How have you seen the model has evolved since 2008? And then the second part of that question is, why do you think, especially in the last maybe 2 to 3 years, you've seen a lot of other businesses in the estate agency space starting to really make the transition towards this model as well? What's really fueled that change?
What was the first question again?
How have you seen it evolve over the last 13 years, the model?
So we just carried on as normal, and we just, had, for Newman's, we just had 3 offices, Rugby, Coventry and Leamington, and they were just on that self-employed basis. So we never really grew the business that much. And we've grown the business with Fine & Country, we've taken on more areas, and we've grown that model. It has evolved as in we've gradually been able to pay the agents a higher percentage. And I think more recently, now we're up to over 100 agents, self-employed agents in our business. But I think things have changed dramatically over the last few years, especially with sort of COVID. When people have realised they don't need offices. The general public have realised they don't need to walk into the estate agent's office. The agents themselves have realised they don't need to be sitting in an office. People can work from home. And suddenly, now, if you want to expand your estate agency business, the old days, you'd have to say, well, if I want to open in another town, I've got to find a new premises, then I've got to recruit a secretary, and we've got to get fascia signs and a photocopier and a franking machine and a phone system.
Huge upfront costs.
All of that. Now, if I want to open another town, I can just recruit an agent in that town on a self-employed basis with no office cost. potentially no right move costs, no additional cost really. So anything that agent brings in, if they're getting paid 50%, the business is just paying 50% on additional income that they wouldn't have otherwise had. So it's not really a cost. And the agent's earning 50% or whatever the percentage is. So it's now a real opportunity for businesses, including ours, to expand this model and to recruit agents and provide agents with that, the help and support that they need to effectively run their own business and change their life really.
And what are some of the best success stories you've seen with some of your agents, and what are the top agents earning in a single month or in a year nowadays?
Okay, well look, we're going to have some interviews over the next coming weeks, and I don't want to sort of give too much away, but I will say that, I get on a daily basis text messages, emails, phone calls from agents thanking me, telling me about their successes. I hear some of them are saying to me that I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. I'm earning more money than I've ever earned in my life. I've got better relationships with my wife, my husband, my kids. I'm healthier because I've got more time to do the things in the gym. The two words that get repeated to me on a regular basis are life-changing. Those are the two words that people say to me. This has changed my life. This is life-changing. And I don't see myself as an employer. I'm, in fact, it's a different relationship. I'm actually, the agent is my customer, my client. I'm there just to help them and give them everything they need. And they're actually, like, one of our agents just recently bought me a voucher for a dinner at Nubu in London.
Nobu, yeah.
Nobu. And he said, I just want to say thank you, Sean. I've earned a great amount of money, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity, putting your trust in me, giving me the help. And so yeah, that's very rewarding for me. I get my reward and satisfaction from helping these agents do well, be successful, and achieve their goals. There's nothing more fulfilling for me than when I first talk to people. One of my first questions is, what are your goals? I talk about their income goals. I talk about their definition of success, and I talk about what their other goals are. What they might want to earn the income, but what do they want to do with that? And some people say, well, I want to buy some investment properties. I want to have this dream holiday. I want to buy this car. And, I've had lots of examples of people have said, this is the car I'd really love to get. And then 6 or 8 months later, they're buying that car. One of the interviews will be about someone, Terry, and his goal was to go to the Burj Al Arab Hotel in Dubai, 7-star hotel, and he's now going to that hotel. So these dreams, it's like, I feel like I'm making dreams come true, and it's really rewarding. But each one of these agents will have their own story to tell, and that story is a familiar story. Like, I'm scared, I'm worried, I've had that security, that safety net of a salary. I know where I am, I'm in my comfort zone. I've got a family, I've got a wife, I've got a husband, I've got a mortgage, I've got kids, I've got payments I can't take that risk. And some people see it as a risk. And it's interesting that it's a very familiar story or theme. They all go through this process of being worried and concerned. And at some point they just make that decision. And I guess it's like deciding to jump out of an airplane. You've got to build up that courage to book that parachute jump. And then you've got to get in the plane, and then you've got to jump. But if you talk to anyone who's jumped out of an aeroplane, they just say that as soon as you make that jump, it's the best feeling in the world. And it's the same as you've done it, it. And I think it was Will Smith said everything in life or the best things in life are on the other side of fear. And fear is there to protect us from making mistakes. But sometimes you just got to overcome those fears and go for it. And when you do, and it's a big step and it's a hard step, but I guess some of these podcasts, hopefully other agents out there will be able to relate to these stories and go, yeah, that's how I feel, or that's where I am. And then when they see that success, they go, well, that's where I could be. Maybe I should make that.
So who are the right people then to make the jump and become self-employed agent?
Yeah, well, you need to have some financial backing to start with, because you are not going to earn much money for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So that's obviously the biggest concern. There are things we can do to support agents, and they can look at getting money. I mean, I've had people say to me, we've just lived off the credit cards, we've moved out of our house, moved in with parents and rented our house out, so we've got income. We had 2 cars, so we've sold one of the cars. People have been very resourceful and finding ways to fund themselves. And I guess funding is one, but there's nothing more motivational when you need to get results. I mean, later on I'll tell you my story, but I had, success was, failure wasn't an option. I had to be successful. I had to find the money. I had to get houses on the market. I had to sell houses. So it's a great motivator to do the things perhaps that you should be doing. Whereas when you're an employee, if the phone doesn't ring, doesn't matter. You can sit back and hopefully someone will walk in the office. Hopefully there'll be a right moved lead come in. But when you're running your own business, it's you've got to be, so coming back to the question, which is what are the characteristics or qualities, you've got to be proactive and disciplined and resourceful and finding a way. You've got to think, right, how do I do this? For me, education is key. Learning is a crucial part of this. I would say that I've been very successful in the estate agency industry, but I'm not any cleverer than anyone else. I'm not any better than anyone else. And the one bit of advice I can give, and the reason I've had my success, is because I spent a lot of time and a lot of money learning. I invested in going to conferences, reading books, going to training events. I mean, there isn't, I would imagine every estate agency trainer in the UK would know who I am because I've been on one of their courses or more than one of their courses.
Sitting at the front, asking all the questions.
But I want to read the books, listen to them. Obviously now you can listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, but back in the day it was going to conferences. And I'd want to learn from other people, and that's other estate agents. Today it's a lot easier, but the point is still the same. You've got to want to learn. You've got to be open-minded, but it's not just about learning. You've got to be prepared to implement. And as long as you are prepared to learn, as long as you're prepared to implement, and that will, that can take discipline. But when you're committed, when it's your business, and you're saying, right, I've got to make this work. I think most people just need that motivation, really, and that reason why. And when I talk to people who are joining, I need to know what is their reason why. They might say, "Oh, I want to earn more money," but why do you want to earn more money? And if they haven't got a strong reason why, they're probably not going to be successful. I had a big reason why when I started an estate agency and my business. But I think the characteristics, you've got to be prepared to work flexible hours. I mean, the great thing is you can that's good and bad. You can have time off at 3:00 in the afternoon to pick the kids up or go to the gym, but then maybe someone wants to view a house at 7:00 at night. So, but I don't mind that. I don't mind texting or sending a WhatsApp message at 9:00 at night to a client, because that's fine. It's no big drama. But if they're going to be paying a decent fee to sell their house, and they're going to expect that sort of not 24 hours, but 7-day a week service.
Okay, so let's talk about you and how you've got up to this point then. Where did it all begin? Where, talk to us about baby Sean when you were just starting out. Where did this entrepreneurial journey first start? Yeah, I guess, there's probably some, based in everyone's childhood will affect, how life turns out. And I think it's fair to say we were poor. We lived in a council house. I thought my neighbours were rich because he had like a soda stream, which you won't know what it is, but it was like a fizzy drinks machine. Okay.
And he had little things like a computer game, which was an Atari, beep. It was just like beep, beep. It was just like a table. Things like that at Christmas, whereas we didn't have a car. We had to, they had theirs. Fizzy pop delivered as well before they got the soda stream, so we were poor. So I'd get my clothes from a jumble sale. That was it was coming to the school term. I'd need new clothes. We'd go to the church, to the jumble sale, and my mum would work at the jumble sale, so she'd say, Sean, don't worry, I'm in there early, getting all the good stuff. Great. Oh, I've got the good stuff. So my clothes. So I'd go to school, and my trousers would be too short, and so you'd sort of had to deal with all of that. And we had a difficult childhood. My mum and dad didn't get on. They got divorced early on, and it's a bit hard to say this, but so my dad killed himself when I was about 12, I think it was, and so obviously I didn't have a father figure there, and it just feels odd saying it because obviously you're here. So that was difficult. And so obviously, and then I had so I sort of like became the man of the house, and I had an older sister who was in a wheelchair, and so she was disabled. She took a lot of time to support her, so I'd always be pushing a wheelchair around. Then I had a younger brother who was 5 years younger than me. So obviously that's quite an age gap. So it's like you don't really have much in common, because obviously if you want to play football and you're 10 years old, playing with a 5-year-old is not quite the same. And obviously my sister was in a wheelchair, so we couldn't really play football with her. So and my dad was never around. So it was things that seem obvious to a father or a son to. I never played football or cricket, and I guess I've not got no regrets about this. Actually, probably that made me hopefully a better father figure, thinking, right, I want to make sure that I'm there for my kids, and we do play football and go to a football match and stuff. But so the point I was getting to is we were pretty poor, and I just thought, I just want to make money. I want to be rich. And like my neighbours who had a caravan, like I thought a caravan was being rich because our holidays were camping in Wales in the rain, and you can imagine how difficult that was with a sister who's in a wheelchair, the mum who was obviously trying to do things, and a younger brother, and it's raining in Hunstanton or everywhere, and like the dream was to have a caravan, and next door's had a caravan. So that, I guess my driving force was I wanted to be rich, and so I went.
Can you remember when you made that conscious decision that's what you wanted?
Yeah.
What that pivotal moment was?
I just remember thinking that next doors were rich, and I guess my definition of rich was completely different.
And how old were you at this point?
I would say, I don't know, it was probably when my dad had died, and we didn't have any money, and we were living on benefits, and a car, I remember a car driving up our road, and it was a Lotus Elise, and it was like the James Bond car that went underwater. And like this car drove up the road, and all the kids in the road ran after it, and then it parked up, and we're all standing around it, and we're all going, oh. And the guys, said, obviously, do you want to sit in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I thought, I want these things. And so we lived in a fairly, there was, the school I went to was a pretty rough school. Sorry to anyone who was at that school, but you'll probably realise it was on a council estate in Daventry.
Why was it rough? What do you mean by that?
Because like it was in a council estate. The council estate, the houses were made out of prefabricated blocks. So they weren't even bricks. So the council just built these houses really quick and just made them out of big blocks of concrete put together. So a very, very low cost housing. And people at the school, half my school, the guys were skinheads with tattoos and smoking, and the other half seemed to be what I would consider the richer kids, who unfortunately for them were living in the villages, which we would have thought like you live in a posh house if you live in a village. They would get the bus in and they would come to this rough school, and I felt so sorry for them, their parents. Anyway, so they were, and I guess at school, one thing I did learn is how to get on with everyone, how to get on with the hard kids, so I didn't get beaten up. And
did it work?
Well, it's funny. Bullying was just a thing. Like that was just accepted.
Yeah.
Like I mean, they talk about the snowflake generation now, and I just don't think, well, I've got to pick my words carefully because I don't want to say the wrong thing, but like bullying was just accepted, you know, and hardened me up. Like, yeah, whether that was physical abuse, which we got, there was fights in the classroom. And when I say fights, I'm not talking about just two, but the whole class fighting, things getting thrown out of windows, you know, ambulances being called. And anyway, there was the other side of the class, which was the clever kids, the SWATs, the ones that probably had richer parents that wanted them to do well. So I wanted to be in with them guys because I wanted to do well. I thought if I can do well at school, you know, hopefully I can get a good job. But also I didn't want to get beaten up. So I wanted to be in with the hard guys and not be seen as one of the SWAT. So being able to relate to different people in different environments and get on with everyone was important. And I think that sort of helped me in later life. So yeah, after school, I didn't say that while I was at school, I left home. My mum had a new partner. We didn't get on. And I had a number of attempts of running away from home. I'll tell you one quick story. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. And I remember going to bed, going, right, that's it. I've had an argument. I'm leaving. So climbed out my bedroom window, and I thought, right, I'm off. Where can I go? So I went for a long walk, and I found a park, and I thought, right, I'm just going to sleep outdoors. So I was trying to lie on the floor, and it was all wet. So then I pulled a few branches off this conifer tree. And
how old are you at this point?
Probably about 13 or 14. Okay. And then I'm lying down, and I still can't sleep. And then it's getting later, and I'm checking your watch, and it's still only like 11 o'clock. And then in the end, I must have walked down another street, and I found a garage where they're selling cars, and I just happened to be trying some of the doors, as you do. And then one of them was open, and I thought, oh, I can sleep in this car. So it's cold, it's uncomfortable. Another few hours went by, and anyway, the night just went on for and on. And in the end, I remember thinking, there's a shed in our house. I'll go back to the house, I'll get in the shed. So I got in the shed. And then in the end, I thought, right, I've had enough. I'm going to have to go back to bed. So I climbed back in onto the roof, into my window, got back into bed. And my mum never even knew I'd been out. So that sort of defiance of, right, I'll show them. Yeah. Just ruined my night's sleep, really. Anyway, cut long story, it got worse. And then I left, and I'd stay at friends' houses.
How old were you when you left properly?
About 14. And I was sleeping on people's couches.
Were you still going to school at this point?
Still going to school. Okay. Then I'd stay in someone else's. And one of the friends' parents told the local social services, and, you know, which actually probably was the best thing. And then they put me in a bedsit. So I was living in a bedsit at 14. I just got, basically, it was just a bedroom, and I had a fridge in it and a toaster on it, so I could make myself some toast for breakfast, and then I'd have school dinner, free school dinners. And then in the evening, the woman who owned the house would cook food for me. That was part of the bedsit. So yeah, that was my life. And from growing up 16, I was at school, and average grades, not particularly good. I wanted to sort of do well. You know, I remember at school there was one teacher that really believed in me and said, "Yeah, you can do it." And I think that makes those little comments from those odd teachers can make a big difference to someone.
Can you still remember the name?
Yeah, Mr. Lynch. Yeah.
Did you ever try and find him later on, or?
No, I have considered that a few times, really, and maybe I should definitely do that. He just sent a quiz once, and I happened to get this quiz right. It was and he called me a pocket genius. Okay. And you know, just someone giving you that confidence. So that was school, and I went on to stay for sixth form, and I wasn't doing very well, and I think I stayed 1 year, and I thought I just need to get a job. I need to start earning some money. Still not. So I went and got one of these. They called it a YTS. It was a youth opportunity scheme. I guess it's an apprentice scheme now. It was in a bank, Barclays Bank. My mum said, "Oh yeah, banks are good. It's a safe job." And I guess people think a job is a safe thing to have. And so it was £25 a week, something ridiculously low. Obviously, it was back in the day as well. So I wasn't earning much money, and I I've got a few stories to tell about it. I won't go into them. Maybe we'll do a different podcast about my life outside of work, but we'll go into talk about work. So someone worked at an estate agent's, and I was working obviously behind the bar in a pub as well in the evenings, and then at the weekend I'd do a nightclub as well. So I'd got and when I was younger I'd got paper rounds and working in supermarket, stacking the bread before school. So I had various jobs to make money. Anyway, I was working in this pub, and one of the guys in the pub said, and actually working in a pub is a great way to improve your communication skills. You're literally meeting people all the time, talking to people. So, and an estate agency is all about getting on with people, and so that was good. So yeah, he said he works in estate agents, and this was Taylor's Estate Agents, and it was part of Countrywide, but before it was part of Countrywide. And he said, oh yeah, I'm earning good money. And I went, I need to have a job. He said, well, there's a job available. Why don't you go for the interview? And
for context, whereabouts was this?
This is in Daventry.
Okay.
And so I applied for the job, went for the interview, and they just said, no, you're too young, you're not suitable for whatever reason. I can't even remember. And I was like, okay, that's not a problem. I'll not going to give up. I'm going to check all the other estate agents in Daventry. And I went into each one and said, are there any jobs going? It was no. And I thought, right, next thing we'll do is I'll go to the next biggest town. The next biggest town was Northampton. So I got the bus over to Northampton on a Saturday and thought, right, I'll go to all the estate agents asking for if they've got any jobs. And I literally must have gone to 20. I think a few said, yeah, leave your name, leave your number. One said, let's have a quick chat. And I literally, it was at the end of the day and I had nothing. It was like 4:00 in the afternoon. I thought, there's one left. There's Taylor's.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, obviously I'd been refused a job at Taylor's in Daventry, but this is Northampton. I'll go there. So I just said, any jobs? And the guy said, well, take a seat. I'll go and get someone. So I'm sitting there waiting. And I thought, and it seemed to be waiting a long time, like 10 minutes. And I thought,
again, how old are you at this point?
So I must have been about 18, 19.
Okay.
Probably 19 actually. Because I'd done sixth form, done a year probably at the Barclays, so 19-ish. Yeah, and then I said to this, is it going to be much longer to this negotiate? And he said, oh no, not going to be much longer. Just out of interest, what's his name? And he said, I thought it'd be good to know his name. And he said, his name's Bob Butler. And I went, oh no, that was the guy who interviewed me and said no to me.
At the Daventry.
Yeah, the Daventry. I'm thinking, okay, don't worry, mate, I've got to go. So I'm just leaving my chair.
Yep.
And then I see these legs walking down the steps and I'm going, oh no. And then so I got up and I went, and he said, oh, Sean Newman, yes. So you're back. That's what I like. Determination, not giving up, come upstairs. I was just about to sort of apologise, say I better go.
Yeah.
But before I could get a word out, he wants to talk to me. And it actually worked out well. He said, in this job, you need to be determined. You need to sort of deal with rejection. It's true. And so, yeah, sort of gave me, and he said, well, look, he said, have you got your driving licence? And I went, yeah. And I didn't have it. And he said, have you got a car? And I went, yeah, I didn't have that either. And he said, right, we need to get rid of those white socks. We need to get rid of that disco suit. We need to get rid of, you need to. And I went, yeah. He says, can you do all that? Okay, we'll get into Daventry and you can start work in like 2 weeks' time, I think it was, on the Monday. And I went, great. So I was get the bus back home, think, right, I've got this job, brilliant. They wanted me to bring my driving licence in on the first day to prove what driving licence. And I thought, oh no, I haven't got so I literally had to try and get I had a few lessons. So I was ringing up the whoever it was to get book a test. And they said, well, the earliest test is like 3 months' time. And I go, no, I need something sooner than that. Yeah. And they were going, no, unless there's like cancellation. They were going, no, there's no cancellations in your area, Daventry, Northampton. And so I rang back again. Like I'd rang back every day for like 3 or 4 days. And in the end I said, look, I don't care where it is in the country. Have you got any cancellations anywhere in the country? And I said, well, we've got one for tomorrow in Nottingham. And I went, where's Nottingham? Yeah, I'll take it. Take it. So I rang the local BSM, British School of Motoring driving school. So have you got any cars for me to use tomorrow? And they went, yeah. And I've got a friend to drive me up there. Never been to Nottingham before in my life. In a car that I'd never been in before in my life. Thinking I need to pass this because my whole life depends on it. That's what I felt, because if I don't get this driving test passed, I can't start work. Took the driving test, bumped up the curb on a roundabout, did the reversing, went up the curb, and I'm going, oh no, this is... And at the end of it, I just thought I've just ruined this like opportunity of my life to get this job, and I started crying, and I literally was just, I could even feel myself welling up now because of that emotion of like, you know, when that's so much pressure, you want to pass this test, and this can change your life. Like being poor, so suddenly I can be earning a good income, and the amount of time and effort I put into getting this position, I've got it. I just need to put anyway, and I just thought he's going to fail me, and he should have failed me. And it was actually on my birthday as well, I think. And this guy said, why are you crying? And I sort of told him my story. I said, I really, really need this. And then he just passed me. Wow. So like I'm going, whoa.
So moral of the story is just burst into tears.
Yeah. Oh, it was just, and I deserved to fail.
Yeah.
It was a fail. But you know, when people give you that chance in life, they just understand how much it means to you and how much you need it. And those little things make a big difference. You know, those little, you know, who knows what would have happened if he'd have said no. Anyway, so first day of work, and I'm just going to give a shout out to the manager at the time, Ian Bowes, who's a very good friend, and we're still in touch now. And so he'll remember these stories. So I started, and obviously he said, have you got a car? Yes, my driving license, got a car, it's around the back. And I didn't have a car. So really what I had to do was run to appointments. And so I would always leave early. And there'd be times when there'd be an appointment at, I don't know, 12:30. You couldn't leave at 12 o'clock to go to an appointment at 12:30. There was only, 5 minutes in the car. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to pip out for lunch, grab a sandwich, and then I'll go straight onto the appointment. They go, yeah. I'll get out the door. I was running down the street. And then I have to run to appointment, run back. And that went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I remember there was loads of stories, but I just remember
you were physically running to these appointments.
Physically running. And
how far for some of these appointments?
Well, I'll tell you one of them. Bearing in mind that it sounds a bit weird now, but I had a 3-piece suit on, waistcoat. It was sunny and tie. It was summertime, hot. And there's an appointment. I thought, right, I've got to run up there. It's quite far. It was probably a good 15, 20 minutes run. So it was a long way. Gets there, waiting for the person to turn up. No mobile phones or anything. And they didn't turn up. And I waited around. So I said to the owner, can you just ring the office just to make sure they haven't turned up at the office, or rang to say they're running late? She rang the office. No. Okay, all right. Headed back to the office, got back to the office. Just as I walked in, they said, oh, we've had a call from Mrs. Such and Such. The buyers have turned up. Oh, can you go back? So back out, boiling hot sunshine, sweating like a pig, running all the way, get there, just as they're coming out the door. And I said, so what did you think? And they go, no, I didn't like it. And I went, no, I've got to go back to town. I'm thinking, they're going to think, where am I?
Yeah. I
said, you're not going back to town, are you? And they went, yeah, well, we're going through town. He asked, give me a lift. So I got a lift. So there's loads of stories like that. And one thing we had to do every week in this estate agency business is we didn't have digital cameras. We had Polaroid. Oh, well, obviously we took photographs. They had to be collected one day. They'd be taken off to process, and they'd be delivered the next day. And that was fine during the week. But on a Monday, we had to have the photographs for the newspaper advert. And so we had to have Polaroid. So any houses we'd put on the market on Friday, Saturday or Sunday, we'd have to go out on Monday and take a Polaroid picture for the newspaper advert. Because if you took a picture with a normal camera, they'd obviously be collected Monday, wouldn't be back till Tuesday. So we had to go. And so every Monday, the manager would say, right, who's going to go and get the photographs of the 6 new instructions that we've had? And I'd be going, oh, not me. I'm thinking, I haven't got a car. And then it'd be, right, we've got 10 this week. Who's going to go and get the photos? Not me, hide, And every week I would avoid this job. And then every week someone would say, Sean, it's Sean's turn. I go, no, I can't. I've got any petrol.
No one you worked with knew that you didn't have a car.
I think maybe there was like at some point someone would have found out. And in fact, I think one of my colleagues sort of said, you can borrow my car. This is later on. But so anyway, one Monday they said, right, we've only got one new instruction from the weekend. Who's going to take the photo? And I thought, one? Yeah, I can do that. I could run to there, take the picture. Yep, I'll do it. Thinking, yeah. I'm not trying to. And they went, yeah, it's in. And they get named the village, and it was like a 10-mile away village. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And he was like, and I went, oh no, how much? So I had to get a taxi there. That cost me a tenner, to get there. Got back, and then the manager went, this photo's rubbish. The sun's in. Can you go back and get it? I said, no, I can't. And anyway, but it, like the tenner for me was a lot of money in those days. Anyway, so I had to get a car, and I'll tell you a quick story about getting a car. So I used to work in a bank, and so I knew that when you wrote a check that it'd take 3 or 4 days to clear, and I had to get a car because it was getting pressure. So I went to see a car, and I bought this car from this lady, and I remember writing like a couple of checks, and I said like, here's, this is the check for now, and then this one, bank it in a 4 weeks time when I get paid, because and she went, yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to get paid for another sort of over a week or so. But by the time, she's not going to go to the bank for another few days. By the time she's paid in the bank, it'll be another 3 days. Anyway, she banks it straight away. And this thing where you express clear it, like it's like, so the bank's calling me. And then this woman rings me at work going, oh, this check's bounced. And I was going, oh, I don't know what's happened there. Well, must be the bank. Just, pay it in again. And she paid it in again, and then it bounced again. And I thought, and then she was ringing me again. And I thought, oh my God, just have to avoid her phone calls. Mm-hmm. So she rang my area director, and he said, Sean, I need to see you today. I went, okay. So I borrowed a car to go to Toaster, where it was. And it's, Sean, I've had this woman say that you've bought a car, you've paid it with a check, and the check's bounced. Have you got the money? And I went, yeah, of course I've got the money. And he goes, well, I want you to go and get that money out of your bank and give it to her today in cash. And I went, oh, okay. And he said, well, you've been paid today, haven't you? And I went, yeah, I've been paid. Anyway, so literally, I forgot to say about how much I was getting paid when I got this job. And I'll quickly go back to say that. So when I was working at the bank, after a year that you go up to sort of £250 a month, when I was offered this job at Taylor's, he said, how much you on at the moment? And I went, £250 a month. And he went, okay, we'll match that. Mm-hmm. Match it? I thought it was going to be like 12 grand a year. I thought, but at the time, it was all commission. It was, you got 15% of the fee. It was all commission based. And you got this 250 quid a month. So my wages were 250 quid a month. So I had this car, and I was literally, by the time this had all gone on, I had actually got paid. So I thought, well, I need to sell this car. So I went to the local car dealer and said, look, can you buy this car for me? I need to sell it today. How much would you give it for me? Bear in mind, I'd paid 500 quid for it a week ago. Mm-hmm. They went, we'll give you 250 quid. I went, what? Okay, well, I need the money. So I took the 250 quid. Yeah. I went to my bank and got my wages out, 250 quid. So I had the 500 quid. Then I had to get a car, drive to this woman, give her the 500 quid. So now, not only have I got no car, I've got no money. I've just spent my wages. So I've got no money again for the. So it's another month of no money. I was literally living on toast, and working in a pub in the evenings. So you can see I had the motivation to work hard. So fast forward to, I'd been there a year or so, and then I went to another town, Rugby, and I was made manager of this office in Manchester. Well, I went to Rugby, then I was made manager. So I was probably about nearly 21 at this time, and I was doing really well. I was selling. I'd been there a couple of years, and I was getting 15% of the fees. I was getting top results, earning good money, relatively good money. And then they made me the manager, and I went, great. But then it was a different model. You're not getting paid on your results, you're getting paid on the office results. Mm-hmm. So you're relying on other people. And there was some good people there. I'll mention a few names. Simon Hawksley, who's still good friends now and still an estate agent. Eddie Blythe is still an estate agent. He was there. Ian Kingston was manager there before me. So a shout out to Ian Kingston for all his help and support. Anyway, we had a good team, some good people there. In fact, I worked with Chris Mobbs. He's still an estate agent today, and a few others. But anyway, I was a manager and I wasn't earning enough money. And I thought the only way for me to earn more money is to set up my own estate agency business. But obviously that's going to be really, really expensive and I don't know how to do it, but I wanted to earn more money. And I said to my managers and the area manager at Taylor Law, I want to earn more money, pay me on my results, pay me a higher percentage. And I mean, if this self-employed model had been available then, I'd have just gone straight for that. I wouldn't have been setting up a business. But anyway, an opportunity came along. And it was a local business, and he'd got, I don't know, say 4 or 5 offices. And the one in Rugby had never made any money. It just lost money. It was a very narrow office, only 6 foot wide, and it had gone through manager after manager after manager. And as a business, you've got overheads and didn't really make any money. So the owner said, do you want to buy this business? And sort of maybe buy it as like a franchise. And so I went, yeah, okay, sounds good. Let's have a chat. So I didn't really understand it fully. So he explained that I could take over everything. So it was a ready-made business. There's already a name. It's already got desks in there. It's already got a shop front. It's already got a secretary in there. He said, you take over the business and you give me 10% of all the turnover. I thought, okay, that's good. So from his point of view, he was getting rid of a liability that was losing money. And obviously he could only make money because he was getting 10% of whatever I bring in. Whether I made any money or not, I could lose money. So I said, yeah, okay, I'm interested. I'll buy that business. And he said, okay, and this might not sound a lot now, but it was a lot at the time. He said, you can buy it for $6,000. Although I'm not really buying anything because the premises were rented. The furniture was knackered and secondhand. There was 2 desks. It was only 6 foot wide. And I was taking on a lot of liabilities. And I said, so $6,000. I said, well, yeah, I'm interested, but I haven't got $6,000. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. You can pay me £500 a month for 12 months. And you just pay £500 a month. I went, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds better. But I haven't even got £500. Literally, I've got no money. So he said, I'll tell you what then. You can have the business and you don't pay me the first £500 until month 4. And I went, okay. So he says, you can get a house on the market, you can sell it, you've got some money coming in, then you pay me the £500. So you pay the £500 a month for 12 months. That's the $6,000 for the business. And then you take on all the costs. What I didn't realise, obviously, is that I'm taking on a big liability, but I had to pay the wages at the end of the month, I had to pay the rent. I think the rent had been paid in advance, so that it should paid quarterly in advance. So then there's newspaper advertising. So I had to get some results quickly, and there was a bit of a pipeline. So I worked out whatever sales there were as they came in, that would pay for the cost for the first 3 or 4 months, and then obviously then I'm on my own. So the point I'm getting to is when you've got that drive to or that motivation. So I'd close up at 6:30 at night at the office, and then my work started. I was out delivering leaflets down the streets, knocking on doors of houses for sale with other estate agents. I was literally, on the phones in the evenings, ringing people when other estate agents were closed, saying, knowing that they'd be saying, "Oh, my agent's closed, so you're open, oh, you're working late, and it's 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night." But I was doing that at Taylor's. I remember being at work at 10 o'clock at night. In fact, at Taylor's in Daventry, we were next door to a pub. There would be people knocking on the window at 10 o'clock at night saying to me, come to the pub. And I'd be going, I'm working. There was 2 reasons I didn't go to the pub. 1, I didn't have the money. And 2, I needed to earn the money. Yep. So, for me, by working, I was earning money and saving money. And I also looked at the people that were going to the pub and I thought, I'm working hard now so that I don't have to later. I still work hard now.
Yeah, how's that working out for you?
I still work, but I have a choice and I enjoy it, and I do what I want when I want, and I've got a comfortable income and lifestyle. But yeah, I did work hard. So when I was working for myself, I still worked hard into the evenings, I worked weekends. And that's any advice I'd give to someone who's setting up on their own in their own business. Yeah, this isn't like you can close the door at 6 o'clock at night and go home. This is right now the work starts, and you've got to start generating leads for people who want to sell, people who want to buy. So yeah, I worked hard, and that was me starting a business. After a year or two, that was going back in time, that was January 1988. So don't even ask me how long ago that was. So that's when I first started my own business. 2 years later, 1990, I found bigger premises, and I said to that guy it was a franchise, I was paying him 10% of my turnover. My turnover was going up and up and up and up, and I was paying him more and more and more. Yet I probably wasn't making any profit because I've got rents, wages, and all these things to pay. So 2 years later, I said, look, I'm just going to pay you off. So I just paid him a lump sum and changed the name to Newman's. And that was in 1990. And that was on Regent Street in Rugby. We had premises there. And then 7 years later, so 1997, I moved to the bigger premises at number 1 Regent Street, which are on the corner. And that was the opening was January 1997, which was literally a few days before you were born. So that's funny when you think about that. And yeah, we had some great success. We had a great office. Then we opened another office in Coventry, another one in Leamington, and it was Newman's. And we traveled the world trying to be the best as we could be, you know, learning from the best, going to the conferences. And we won lots of awards. We, you know, local, regional and national awards. We were, you know, the best estate agent in the UK. We were very, very successful, and people, you know, looked up to us, and we did a good job. And then the recession hit in 2007, 2008, and it was a terrible time because we had to cut our costs. We literally cut all the costs. I mean, everything had to go. We had water coolers, that's got to go. Cleaners, they've got to go. You know, anything that costs money, we looked at. Obviously, you know, we didn't like doing it, but we had to let people go as well. And that was the hardest thing. These weren't people who were employees or staff. These were friends. These were people who you'd worked with, who'd helped you and would built up a great business. But we couldn't afford to keep. Like, it was financial suicide. And it was like having those consultation meetings, probably the worst time. Like literally we were in a room with 3 people or 4 people, and you knew that, you know, you only had to get rid of maybe one, but you couldn't just say, well, that's the one that's going to go. You had to go through consultations, and then everyone's in tears. I'm in tears. They're in tears. But it was a terrible time. Like, and then obviously you got people in financial difficulty, needed to sell their house. And anyway, it was a difficult time. Lots of business. The banks, the time we needed to extend our overdraft, they said, no, we want you to reduce your overdraft. You know, so yeah, it was tough. And then that's when we changed our business model. And I thought, I don't want to be in a position, I want a model where we're sort of almost recession proof, you know. So the agents are paid on their results. So if they bring in lots of money, they get paid well. And if they don't bring in any money, they don't get paid, you know. But it changes things. It changes the motivation of the agent as well. And it changes our role. We're not an employer anymore telling people what to do. They're the customers, and we're providing all the support and help they need to help their business be successful. And it's just like the American, Australian model, you know, it's just, so that's where it started. And then it's grown from there. And here we are today with 100 self-employed agents, or over 100. And that number is just going to grow dramatically now, because more and more agents are realizing, they're waking up and seeing that now's the time to make that move where they can enjoy those same opportunities. And if I relate back to some of my stories or history about how I started, I would say to anybody, first of all, don't give up on your dreams. You've got to be determined. When you get, like, I've interviewed people and said no to them, thinking if they came back, they'd probably get another opportunity, but they've given up. They've gone, oh no, they said no. And it's the same with selling houses. You know, you're going to get rejected. You're going to knock on a door and they're going to say no. You're going to ring someone up, they're going to say no. You need to, what's the word I'm looking for when you don't give up?
Resilience.
There's resilience, persistence, consistent, you know, that determination is key in all areas. And I would say that, I think it's Richard Branson said, you know, if an opportunity comes up, you know, say yes to it and then work out how. So this job opportunity came up. I didn't have the car. There's a lot of reasons why I shouldn't have got that job. I got no estate agency experience, no sales experience, never bought a house. My parents never bought a house. Like, I knew nothing about it. I didn't know anything except the friend in the pub told me he's making a lot of money doing it. And now I realize it's an amazing career, very rewarding and satisfying. Forget the financial rewards, but helping people move house, helping them through often difficult times in their life, which could be, a death or a divorce, or they're in, financial difficulty, or in good times where they've had a baby, they just got married, they're engaged, they're moving on to a new job, helping them with that journey. Those clients become friends for life, and it's an incredible industry. So I'm very fortunate to have fallen into it. And, I think lots more people who've come into it love it. But some of them have fallen out of love with it because they're stuck in an office. They're told what to do. They're being micromanaged, or they're having to micromanage people. They've got KPIs, targets. They're not necessarily being given the rewards they deserve, whether that's financial rewards or whether that's just recognition or a thank you. I mean, some people say they get some amazing results and all they get is their bosses saying, well, the targets have gone up, moving the goalposts. So yeah, it's a great industry. Coming back to the stories, and one of the things that helped me when I first started was this guy, Stuart Garner, offered me this business. I didn't have any money, and he said, well, don't pay me anything for the first 4 months. And that's what I do with our agents that are joining us. I say, don't pay anything. There's no license fee to pay for the first, it's the first 5 months. So you've got some time on your side. You do need to have some time, some money to invest in yourself. And a car.
Yep. Driving license.
But don't let these things stop you, like in life, whatever, it's very easy to find reasons not to do something. It's very easy to find problems and excuses. But I think what's the saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right, and if you think you can't, you'll find reasons and excuses not to do something. Or you're just, right, how do I make this happen? What have I got to do? How can I achieve this? And I think having that mindset where you're the determination and prepared to just find a way, whatever, there's some.
So what would 18, 19-year-old Sean have said or done if, when you were leaving the bank, you were presented with the opportunity to become a partner agent with the model that exists today? God,
yeah, I'd have loved to have this opportunity. I mean, even being at Taylor's, which, I had a great time there, to set up my own business is an absolute ball ache. It's a nightmare. Running a business is not, it's not the fun part of it. Having to deal with, finding obviously premises, or nowadays it'd be dealing with sort of Rightmove and recruiting people and compliance and tax, accountants and banks and, there's so much administration, and you can spend so much time doing what I call the stuff that you're not doing the fun part of the job. The fun part of the job is putting houses on the market and selling them. Running a business is not the fun part. And so I still love listing, I don't get enough time for it, but when I do it, I love putting a house on the market. I love selling a house, and it just makes me smile. This running a normal business is difficult. Now I'm running a business where I still have challenges, but it's more rewarding that I don't have to micromanage anyone, do the KPIs and reports and all that sort of stuff. This business now is all about helping agents, all about giving them marketing material, training, administrative support, sales progression support, all the things that I can do, and I've got the the infrastructure, so that they don't have to do all that stuff. So in answer to your question, I would have loved it if someone had said when I was at Taylor's, do you know what? Come on this self-employed basis. This is the brand name, because that's another pain after designing a logo and designing marketing material. It's all done. You just go out and put the house on the market and sell them, and you get 70% of the fee. I'd have gone, whoa. Yep. Is it like, and some people still do say to me, someone said recently, like, it sounds too good to be true. Where's the catch? And yeah, it is like, it is too good to be true. Like, I'm thinking, but it is how it is. It works.
And it's a win-win for everyone.
It is. I'm not a greedy person. I don't need to have, a higher percentage. We're giving a good percentage to the agent, because the agent's the one that's got to go out there and list the house and sell the house. We're there as a supportive role, and we're doing it on a volume basis. So obviously it only works when we've got volume of agents. If you've got one office and 2 agents, you couldn't afford to pay them 70%. And most independent estate agency businesses or corporate businesses cannot provide this model. So I think they need to perhaps look at how they're going to survive in the future. And I want other estate agency businesses to do well. I want to help other estate agencies. I want to share my knowledge, but they do need to look at their models, because that's how it is in the rest of the world, and that's how it's going this way. And I know people will say, yeah, but estate agency is different and you need an office. But I'm sure, go back 3 years and speak to Philip Green, the Arcadia Group, who was the king of the high street and retail, who owns Dorothy Perkins and Topshop and Burton's, all those brands. And he probably thought, no, I'm fine, we're doing okay. Or Debenhams. Debenhams have been around 100 odd years. 3 years ago, they were opening a flagship store in this town. It's beautiful, it's massive, of great reputation, great brand. And yet 2 businesses have set up, Boohoo and ASOS, and Pretty Little Things, and they've just taken a different approach. And now they've bought those businesses. And I think the estate agency model is going to change, and you don't need offices, and you don't need to have an employed manager, an employed secretary, employed lister, you don't need a marketing department, a HR department, accounts department, all these different area managers, regional directors, all these different IT support.
Listers, negotiators.
Yeah. It's the guy who puts the house on the market and sells it is what you need. And he needs to be properly rewarded for his efforts. In the normal corporate estate agency world, he's the guy who does all the hard work, mainly, and the fee-generating work. And then all that money that he brings in has to be shared with so many people. And then on top of all those people we just mentioned, then you've got shareholders who want their cut.
Yep.
And so the guy that's doing all the hard work at the bottom is the one who's getting the least reward. And that needs to change. He should be paid the best. And the business provides him with all those tools that he needs. Because he doesn't want to have that hassle of having to design a logo and have a marketing and IT and HR and all of that, compliance, administration, sales progression, all of that. It's just, but he wants somebody he can talk to. So my 30 odd years, I've probably been in every different situation, every single different market. So if people need help and support, I can provide that information or support to them. And that's what I enjoy doing. People have given me a great opportunity in my life, and I want to give other people that opportunity. I want to see other people do well, and I want to share that knowledge and share that success. And it's great to see it when I see it every day, and it's the best feeling in the world. And I just want more agents to experience it. It's not right for everybody, but if agents think, do you know what, I'm interested in taking this a little bit further, then all I would say is find out more, do some research, talk to me, other agents on this model, and look at this as an option. And
cool. Okay, well, we'll wrap that up there. Obviously, it's a great opportunity for people to explore. It's a very inspiring story, and I'm sure we'll talk more about everything else over coming episodes. So, the next episode we'll be talking to some of the agents. I'll be sharing their stories rather than me waffling on about me again. But maybe, in another episode we can talk more about my life outside of work and outside of a state agency. If people want to know about that, and they can let me know, or maybe message you some questions. In fact, it's just good sharing some stuff with you, maybe some of the stuff that happened in our lives. But it's great to share that story, and hope it has inspired a few people, and certainly given people a bit more of a background about me anyway. Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Yep.
Cool.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks for having me.
So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like more information about becoming a self-employed estate agent, I will add a link in the description. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.